I think Moonton must be confused. They're a little out of sorts. I don't know what's going on, but we have to investigate it. They are releasing, I'm not lying, a new epic hero. Yes, there's a new epic hero coming to Watcher of Realms. It's kind of unbelievable. And some of you might be racking your head wondering, when was the last time we got a new epic hero? We got Elysia a couple months ago, but that was an ancient exclusive epic lord from the Arbiters, very specific. Aside from that, we had a couple epic lord shard summoning event fusions. The last time we had a normal epic hero added to the pool that could just be summoned from a rare summoning crystal, one of the blue ones, or a legendary divine summoning crystal, one of the gold orange ones. It's been a while, and I mean a while. So let's do a little investigation. So if you remember, we had the Crodor fusion, which was a conventional fusion. It's the only time they've done that in Watcher of Realms. It's the only time they've had the fusion where you collect rares, those fuse into epics, then those epics fuse into one legendary, in this case, Crodor. And the epics we collected were Draga, right? It was 4 copies of Draga. You can see Draga over here. She actually didn't even enter the pool formally until a little bit thereafter. There were a couple glitchy things. But when did this take place? It's been a minute, baby. It's been a minute. March 18th, 2024. That's when I released my new fusion Crodor guide. It's been almost a year. What is that? 11 months. The last time we had a normal introduction of an epic hero, I can't pinpoint the exact date, but it was Esme and Jorge. And you can see here's a video from War Guides, February 6, 2024. This is on the test server. This isn't, you can see test server. This was not when they came to global, but this is the last time we had them introduced to the test server at all. And then if we go over here, you can see here's a video from Stormy Z, and this is about Esme. I think this is when she came out, like end of March, beginning of April. I remember this video from Stormy. I feel bad for Stormy. Well, it did great at the time, but he basically was saying Esme's so good, and then they nerfed Poison like 6 days later. So the video didn't age well, not his fault at all. Kind of insane that they did that. And then Jorge was like the exact same time. Here's a video from Dr. D's, April 11th. So end of March, beginning of April 2024 was the last time we had a normal epic introduced, and really the last time at all, besides these ancient exclusive lords or shard summoning fusion events. So it's pretty remarkable. Came completely out of left field when it popped up in the calendar that this weekend, this very weekend, kicking off on what, February the 21st, with this Calypso Lord Phineas banner, there's a new epic on Raid Up. That is going to be this guy over here, Rhox. And let me tell you, at worst, he's going to be pretty great for an epic. We need to test him more. It's going to be very exciting once he comes to global. I hope I pick him up on my free-to-play account, because that'd be the best way to test him, I think, because it's kind of like an early mid-game kind of hero. A lot of people just are going to tend to outgrow this stuff, though he will age fairly well, because essentially, as I look at his kit, he is not a lord like a Solda is over here, but he's kind of like just a better version of a Solda, just a juiced-up version of a Solda. So what I want to do in this video, introduce you to him, talk about his skills, talk about his talent. I love his talent. It is phenomenal. And then we'll discuss his awakenings. I've gone over the kit pretty intensely. I've done very basic testing. You can see we've built out one copy. We've got a couple others to play with, but I have not gone through his awakenings.
Fastidious.
Fastidious.
All right, guys, here we've got Rhox. Let's check out those base stats. We're going to always check the base stats at A5. You know, let's not check the awakenings. I'm sure he gets a little extra stat boost at A2 or A4 or both, but this is just a good way to set a baseline. We'll compare him to Olog. We'll compare him to Avalon, to Isolda, similar good epic tanks from his Northern faction. We're coming in at just over 22,500 HP, 22,696. Very important for a tank. The attack we can ignore, and we actually can completely ignore it because he is defense-based. 3,300, pretty darn good for an epic. I mean, that is better. You know, you hear me rant about how bad Azor is, particularly with his base stats. That's better than Azor's base defense. So these are 2 tanks, 2 defender tanks in Watch of Realms, one a legendary, one an epic. Both of them have damage based off of defense, damage scaling off of defense, and the legendary has less defense. Azor is an ancient hero in this game at this point, and he desperately needs a touch-up. That kit is stupid, and it's nonsensical, it's archaic. They need to get into it. Let's go to Rhox. So you can see, pretty dang good with that 3,300 defense. He's 18 cost, very, very standard for an epic tank. 3 block, but that's a key number to remember. We're going to come back to it. Attack interval at 2.4, fine. Everything else normal. Rage regen when he is attacked. So when an enemy's attacking him, the base is 9. This is what rage regen percentage scales off of. And then off of his basic attacks, obviously a lot less. That's typical for a tank. At 4, rage regen auto, passive generation every second is 14. Very standard stuff, and the HP and the defense are quite good. Let's find some comparisons here. Let's go to Olag. You can see Olag comes in just a little bit less HP. So he's like 22.5, 22.5k, where Rhox was 22.6, and then the defense is just a little bit higher. Rhox was 3,300. He's 29 points higher. Same idea, very comparable across the board. So let's go to Avalon now. You can see Avalon has super high HP, 28.6. This might be the highest of any epic in the game. Very impressive. Lower defense at 3,000. You can see Rhox is right there with some of the best tanks in the game. That's the point I'm trying to make. Finally, Isolde. This is the natural comparison, like I said, because their kits are similar. Isolde is coming in at, focus on this number over here. She's wearing an artifact. That's so freaking annoying. Let's go to Isolde over here. This is a good way to view it. She's coming in at 23,002, so about 300 less than Rhox, and 3,085, so about 300 less than Rhox. That actually is a significant difference. So let's talk about the actual kit with Rhox, starting with this phenomenal talent. He has a permanent aura, essentially, just around him, any directly adjacent tiles. The 3 above him, the 3 below him, 1 to the right, 1 to the left, those 8 squares circling him, those 8 tiles, and it's like a damage reduction aura, and it's very strong. So in the base state, essentially, when he's not ulting, he's going to provide everyone in those tiles a 10% damage reduction for physical damage and magic damage, full reduction for everything besides true damage, right? Very strong. We really like it. Physical damage covers normal damage and piercing. Magic covers magic. That's great. And then during the ultimate, it goes to another level. So it goes up to 25%. Let's compare that to Brokir, one of the juiciest tanks in the game. He's a really similar talent. All the time, he's giving 10%, identical to Rhox. And then when he's frozen, which is what happens during his ult, so essentially when he's ulting, or there's a couple other ways he can get frozen, obviously, he grants a 30% physical damage reduction and magic damage reduction. So only 5% more than Rhox during his ultimate. So it's very significant, and you really want your tanks to have a couple things, right? You want your tanks to have a way to increase their block. You want your tanks to have a way to do some kind of support mitigation effect, and you want your tanks to have some kind of unkillability, some kind of unyielding, some kind of delayed death. And as you're going to see with Rhox, we've just covered this mitigation. We're going to hear about extra block, and you're actually going to hear about some kind of unkillable functionality. So in a lot of ways, he's like an epic version of Brokir, who is the gold standard for tanks in this game. Aside from Cyrus, Brokir is the best, and when it comes to just pure, simple tanking, there's no one better. Rhox is the epic version, and he's really good, and that's really high praise to be compared to Brokir. Before we go to the active skills and the passive skills, let's talk about this first line here. His damage scales off of defense, so this is a benefit he has over someone like Brokir or Isolde, right? He can deal at least a tiny bit of damage. You're not going to build him for damage, or for a lot of things you won't, but because you're going to build a lot of defense on him, because that's going to give him tankiness, you will get a slight double dip. Onto the skills now, the basic. This is just a defense-based DPS, physical attack, 1 tile in front, 110% damage. Kind of negligible. Let's go to that ultimate. I said extra block was coming, and indeed it is. Increases his defense by 30%. That's nice. It helps with his tankiness, and also will help with his damage if you want that. But then the block is increased by 1. So now he's become a 4 block unit. Throw a Bastion Ring on him, now he's a 5 block unit. That's pretty special. Even Brokir can't do that. This makes him comparable to someone like Crodor, who's got 2 block, that's the better version, or Trusk, who gets an extra block during his ultimate, Isolde, that's why I made the Isolde comparison, and then also Olag over here, there's the extra block. A key thing with Isolde, she does give, you see those surrounding tiles, the 8 surrounding tiles just like Rhox, she does give the physical and magic damage reductions. It is 5% more, but she has no base level reduction. She doesn't have that base level 10%. So she only gives that big version during the ultimate. And then a benefit Isolde has is she gives the block increase not just to herself, but anyone else in that range. So that is really, really, really cool. But Rhox, at least again, is comparable with better stats and more consistent uptime on a lot of these things. So this is really powerful. This is really cool. You also get a little boost to the damage he deals. This can stack up to 100%. You're getting 1 stack of 10% every time he takes damage. So once you've taken damage 10 times during the ultimate, he's dealing 100%. It's not going to lead to a ton of damage, but at least, again, it is something. And then the final passive, this is what really pushes him over the edge for me and over the top and makes him so special. He's hitting that final third thing we're looking for to make a tank really good in Watch of Realms, to make a defender tank very strong. What did we talk about? Damage reductions, he brings it. Increased block, he brings it. And now, some kind of invincibility, unyielding, unkillability with Granite Ward, this passive, he brings it. So, when it's fully skilled up, when he takes fatal damage, he gains invincibility for 10 seconds, cooldown is 120 seconds, so 2 minutes. But that first time he takes it, for 10 seconds, he can't be hurt, and you can heal him back up. So it's like a full second life. It is very powerful, especially for an epic. So this is someone we can be really excited about, especially if you get him early game, mid game, beginning portion of the late game. This guy is going to make a difference. And even late into end game, he should have some viability. We'll have to see once we test it in the Hellfire Emperor, the Soul Cadence boss, the Tank Codex. So let's go to the Awakenings now and let's see what he brings. These are going to be the surprises to me. The A1 here increases block by 1 during the invincibility period after triggering Granite Ward. So when he triggers this passive over here, he's also going to get an extra block during this passive skill when it triggers, only every 2 minutes, but it's kind of nice. He can't be hurt at all. He can't be damaged at all during that invincibility period for those 10 seconds. And now he's blocking 4 units at base, because remember, he has base 3 block, plus 1 from that Awakening. And then you probably have him in a Bastion ring in the end, so that's going to be 5 block. That's pretty special. The A2, I'm assuming a stat boost, and it is plus 100 defense. Kind of underwhelming, but it's something. A little more tankiness, a little more damage. With the A3, when he's shielded, even a bigger defense boost, so 15% of 3,300 or whatever. It's going to be pretty strong. It's over 450 additional defense. It's going to be close to 500 additional defense. Again, it's absolutely something. Not game-breaking, but it's solid. At A4, very standard for all epic tanks. All damage reductions for incoming damage hitting him specifically will be reduced by 5%. So when he's not ulting, he's providing that 10% damage reduction to himself as well from his talent. Now it's 15%. And during the ultimate, he's applying that 30% to himself as well. Now it's 35%. Finally, the Awaken 5. When an enemy blocked by this hero deals direct damage to it, this enemy also takes 200% of this damage. This could be pretty dang strong. I mean, if he's taking consistent damage, there's no limit to this. Anyone blocked by him when they're dealing damage directly to him, so not some big AoE, but they are targeting him, he's going to reflect back 200%. So some big AoE in like a guild boss or a guild boss 2, something like that, maybe some bosses, he's not going to get that reflection, but he actually might be able to take down some enemies, especially early on in this game. As he's tanking, he's reducing damage coming to himself, and he's reflecting double damage back at the attacker. All in all, seems like a really exciting epic. The best new epic edition in a very long time, certainly one that is not a lord. It's exciting that they're kind of waking up and smelling the coffee and introducing epics to this game. This game has become unbelievably top heavy, shockingly top heavy. So what do I mean by that? The way you should build these games is from the bottom up in terms of low rarity to high rarity. You want a decent availability of uncommons, commons, and rares. Then you want a big, solid, foundational pool of epics, and then you want fewer really great legendaries on top of that. Let's just go through the fighters and scroll. Look how many legendaries, and then these are our epics. So not even 3 full rows of epics, and an endless scroll of legendaries. And that very much is the theme in Watch of Realms. We are somewhat balanced with our defenders and our tanks, but you can see it's a consistent theme. More legendaries than epics. Continue to the mages. Many more legendaries than epics. Continue to the healers. Again, a little bit better, but still more legendaries than epics. So hopefully this is the sign of things to come. I'm excited. You can probably tell from this video. I think Rhox is going to be a lot of fun. I'm actually going to try to get him on both accounts. I'll pull everything I have probably on my 3-to-play because why not? I need to fill out my roster and he'd be a huge addition. And then also on my main, I'll probably just do 4, 5, 10 pulls. Hopefully just hit that rate up. That'd be great. Excellent for the collection, and then we can really play around with him and have some fun. Thank you for watching. I've been Fastidious. Thank you to R-Type for editing this video. Share it with your mother, and I'll see you guys real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.
Mr. Rhox. It's not his name. It's 10 seconds. You got to tell me how to turn off those pop-up notifications.